In Module 5.1, we learned that professional duties now clearly apply to the licensee, whether acting as an agent or as a principal. Your license follows you. Now we move into one of the most common real-world risk areas in Arizona transactions: possession. Who gets the keys, when they get the keys, and whether you had authority to allow it. This section may seem simple on the surface, but it is one of the fastest ways to create liability, both civil and regulatory. Because possession is not a casual event, it is a legal event. And under clarified professional conduct standards, no licensee may allow occupancy without proper written authorization from the owner. Let's unpack that. No allowing occupancy without written authorization. This rule sounds straightforward, and it is. A licensee cannot permit a buyer, tenant, or third party to occupy property without written authorization from the owner. Notice the word permit. You do not have to physically hand over the keys to create exposure. If you imply, encourage, suggest, or facilitate early occupancy without authorization, you have crossed into risk. Let's walk through a scenario that happens more often than agents admit. A buyer's lender is delayed. Closing is pushed back 5 days. The buyer has movers scheduled. The seller says verbally, "It's fine, just let them move in early." You text the buyer, "Seller said it's okay, you can start moving in." There is no written agreement, no possession addendum, no formal authorization signed by the seller. Under clarified rules, you have now allowed occupancy without written authorization, even if everyone was okay with it, even if nothing went wrong. The violation is about process, not outcome. Now imagine what happens if something does go wrong. The buyer damages the flooring, a pipe bursts, a guest is injured, insurance coverage is questioned because ownership has not transferred. Suddenly, the informal permission becomes a regulatory and civil problem. That is why written authorization is not optional. It protects the owner, the occupant, the broker, you, clarified owner. Permission requirements. The modernization clarified that owner permission must be explicit and documented. A casual statement is not enough. Let's break down what proper authorization should reflect. Clear identification of the property. Specific authorization for occupancy. Defined dates, liability, allocation, insurance considerations. Why is this emphasized now? Because possession disputes generate complaints, and complaints generate file reviews. The department does not evaluate what was understood. It evaluates what was written. Now consider a slightly different example. You are representing a tenant in a lease transaction. The landlord has not signed the final lease yet. The tenant asks, "Can we start moving boxes in? We won't stay overnight." You say, "Sure, that should be fine." Without written authorization, you have facilitated occupancy. Even partial possession can create liability. The rule does not distinguish between sleeping there and storing furniture. Possession is possession, and authorization must be written. Why this rule is so strict? Possession triggers legal consequences. Insurance coverage shifts. Risk of loss shifts. Liability exposure increases. Arizona contract law and real estate practice recognize that possession and title are separate legal concepts. A buyer may take possession before title transfers, but only with proper agreement. That agreement protects everyone. Without it, you have introduced ambiguity. And as we've repeated throughout this course, less ambiguity equals easier discipline. If there is no written authorization, enforcement analysis becomes simple. Was there written permission? If no, the violation is clearer. How this connects to your duties as a licensee. Remember Module 5.1. Duties apply to you as a licensee. That includes exercising reasonable care and not engaging in conduct that endangers parties. Allowing occupancy without written authorization may be viewed as failure to exercise reasonable care. You are not just a messenger, you are a regulated professional. If a buyer pressures you to release keys early, your responsibility is not to accommodate, it is to protect. The safest phrase you can memorize is, "I need written authorization before possession can occur." That single sentence can save your license. A real-world discipline example. Let's create a realistic enforcement scenario. An agent allows early move-in based on verbal seller approval. The buyer's child is injured on the property before closing. Insurance coverage becomes disputed. The seller files a complaint. The department requests listing agreement possession addendum, written authorization communication records. There is no written authorization. The agent says, "Everyone agreed." The file says otherwise. This is how minor shortcuts become regulatory exposure, not because of bad intent, because of missing documentation. The practical possession rule. Never allow keys to change hands without written authorization from the owner. Never advertise early occupancy unless it is contractually documented. Never assume verbal permission is enough. If possession occurs, it must be documented. If it is not documented, do not allow it. That mindset alone eliminates a major compliance risk. How this leads into Section 5.3. In the next module, we will explore clarified negotiation standards, including direct negotiations, communication boundaries, and conduct expectations during disputes, because possession often becomes emotional. And negotiation conduct during emotional transactions is where professionalism is tested. Professional conduct is not about being rigid, it is about being structured. And structure protects everyone,